while, we're probably going to be doing the Zoom. It's not great video quality. So if you can hear me, any students that are used to catching me here, what do we do in these elsewhere? So. Oh, look, it didn't even tell me how many of you had already joined. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm assuming everyone can hear me. There's not a really good way to kind of be like, send me up. Oh, there we go. Peggy's got me. Thank you. I will be teaching this as a very basic intro class again tonight. If this is something that you have never done yoga before, this practice will be accessible for you. So I do want to go ahead and set you up for success by letting you know. You can start by getting yourself a really big pillow to sit on. I would like you to sit kind of crisscross applesauce. If this doesn't agree with you, then you can kind of just like let your legs kind of come out a little bit. But you're really just wanting to elevate the hips below the knees and below the feet so that we can kind of get that blood kind of flowing where it needs to be. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can take either yoga blocks or a good sturdy sized textbook sized book in case we might need something to create a little bit of space. You're basically just thinking about anything that can make the floor come higher. So I've got a little textbook here for you, and then I've got a regular quilt or a yoga blanket. So the other thing that you might want to grab if you have around your house is some sort of like thick, steady like belt. A yoga belt is literally just like a normal cinch belt. So anything that again can kind of loop so that you can create and basically make your arms longer. So I jokingly told someone earlier, anything that you can grab to kind of make your practice a little bit more accessible to you is good. So if you have none of that stuff, we can still make an accessible practice tonight. We can have a really good time. But first things first, I just want to thank you so much for being here. This is BAC's first live Zoom class. We're working on getting this work to be a little bit more efficient. So please let us know what else we can do in the future to make this easier for you. I do want you to know that if there's anything else that we can do personally to make things better for you, I'd love to help you out with that. But we're going to start tonight seated down with our hips grounded down into a steady seat. Like I said, crisscross applesauce, you kind of want to make those legs come in as close to your body as possible. And I want you to really focus on tilting the pelvis comfortably to allow it to sit like a bowl. This is the point where you can start to align the spine like it is a plant growing up out of that bowl. So I really want you to focus on allowing the spine to come center. Take the shoulders and draw them back and down. We're going to take our hands and we're going to allow those to open up. Now, in this moment, I want you to kind of gently close your eyes, level the chin parallel to the floor. And I want you to take a deep inhale through the nose. And we're going to kind of purse our lips and then slowly do a grounding breath through those slightly parted lips. So we're taking that moment here to fill our belly up with air. And so the thing that we're taught all the time is to shrink ourselves. So I really want you to focus on filling the belly up. So no one here is watching. Everybody's got their video muted. So fill your belly up with air, kind of grow it big, kind of like a baby does. So inhale up through the nose and exhale through pursed lips. Taking a moment here to quiet your mind and set your intention. Now in yoga, when we say set your intention, we simply mean, what do you want out of your practice today? Do you want to get a little bit of sweat? Do you want to gain a little bit of flexibility? Or do you simply want a release? So no matter what you want, take that time here to establish that. It's not like all the other fitness classes where you come in really just to get the sweat. Maybe you just need to get a moment for yourself, and that's okay. Inhales through the nose. Filling the belly with air, pursing the lips. This time I want you to separate those lips, kind of have the teeth together, and exhale through those teeth. Keep exhaling as you allow the belly to shrink. Inhale, fill the body with air. Through the pursed teeth. So you're physically shushing all those things inside of your body that have been bothering you and been yelling and screaming all day. We'll take one last breath in. Make it the biggest breath that you've taken all day. And exhale through those squished teeth. Let's take a moment and take our hands and we're going to separate and send them out long. So separate those fingers and we're going to fold ourselves over those legs. If that's really uncomfortable for you, maybe just readjust. Maybe you want to come down off of your pillow, off of your seat, but reach forward in a forward fold in that easy seated pose. Again, if this is too much for you, you can kind of have your hands on a blanket. Take a moment here, slowly allow your chin to drop to your chest, allowing the forehead to come down between those arms. And if you want to, you can allow those forearms to settle into the ground or into your blocks. So with that chin on your chest, take a moment here to just release out of those shoulders. Inhale, slowly walking those hands back up. Walking them back up in your lap. This time I want you to take the hands behind you, open the palms up to the front, and really roll those shoulders back. This is where you kind of look, make sure that there's nothing around you that you're going to knock over. I want you to inhale up from the sides, growing tall through the spine, stretching through those arms, those fingertips come up tall. Now don't let your shoulders come up into your ears. Don't earmuff yourself with your biceps. You're going to allow those shoulders come down your back, open up wide through. So if you didn't have time or you didn't think of an intention to set tonight, I want you to think instead about the holiday season, how that fits for everyone, and we have all these stories. And stories belong in books that open and close. So I want you to think about the things in your life that you can open and close, and the parts of your body you could open and close tonight. Inhale up through. Exhale, taking those hands down. We're going to settle that left hand down into the earth. Inhale, bring the right hand up. I think Zoom might flip me mirror image, which can be kind of confusing. Don't worry about which side you're doing. You do it on one side, just make sure you do it on the other. Try to create balance in your practice. We're going to reach up, whatever hand is up, we reach up tall, and we slowly bring that down elbow a little bit further into the earth. Reach up tall, opening up. We're not cranking our neck all the way. We're just letting our eye gaze come up and find that upward thumb. And I want you to slowly allow that shoulder to come up behind you, and that elbow comes down a little bit, until you start to feel that sensation. So you're just opening that heart by reaching that hand a little bit further behind you. Then reach up and slowly allow it to come down and kind of close out. You can bring that hand over somewhere on your chest, over your heart. We're going to inhale back up, open. Open a little bit wider if we'd like that, if our body's wanting that. Listening to the stories that your heart, your body starts to tell you in this moment. Exhale, slowly close that out. And inhale back up. Go ahead and cross here for just a moment. We're going to give ourselves a small twist over to the left. Inhale back to center. And a small twist over to the right. Coming back through the center as we inhale. Inhale the hands up tall. Again, dropping those shoulders down the back. Taking that right hand down, it finds the earth. We look up at that left thumb or whatever hand is up in the sky and slowly descend that lower elbow down. So that right elbow comes down into the earth. If you can with your neck, look up at that left thumb. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, slowly bring that left elbow a little bit further behind you. So we're opening up in that shoulder, opening up in that heart. And as you exhale, slowly bring the hand down, coming in, allowing it to touch on your chest. Inhale, bring the hand back up. If you'd like to, you can let that hand slowly drift across the front of your chest. As you inhale tall, if you want to gain a little bit more openness in the shoulder, but always listen to your body, maybe the story that you're hearing now is a warning sign to not go further. Heed that. And slowly exhale, bring that left hand down. It comes in, touches on your chest. Slowly come back, inhaling up, taking both hands up. Bringing those hands and kind of coming in to squeeze. I want you to go ahead and take your hands underneath. So your right hand is going to come underneath. You're going to reach all the way around underneath the armpit. And I want you to try to find your shoulder blades. So you're going to reach all the way through. You're going to take that left hand and reach around over your right shoulder until you can grab somewhere on your shoulder blades. You can grab onto your shirt if you'd like to. But wherever you're at, you're giving yourself a bit of a hug here. So we're closing through the front of the chest. I want you to take the elbows and try to physically coax them down. Maybe it's just a millimeter. But if you've ever written a really long paper, you know that just a small inch can feel like a lot of work. So inhale, chin levels off of the chest. Slowly bring the chin all the way up. Exhale, bring the chin level again. And I want you to take that right hand. We're going to send it up. And the left hand to send it up as well. We're going to come into our Garudasana or eagle arms. So if you know how to reach this, you'll bring those hands up and they can kind of loop at the wrists here. You don't have to bind the hands if you don't want to. Just physically bringing them towards one another is possible as well. You can also grab onto that scarf or grab onto that yoga belt if you need to and hold on to, as long as we're making some semblance of that eagle. You can also just sit and hug your chest a little bit more, and that's okay too. Wherever you're at, I want you to lift those elbows up off of the chest. Inhale, fill the belly up with air. Exhale through, bringing the navel to spine. And slowly melt those arms out. That's good. Let's give ourselves 3 little rolls to the back. About 3 little rolls to the front. Yogi choice, if you want to kind of like alternate, roll them, and then switch them out. So they're starting to wake up. Inhale up. So we took that left hand this time. We're going to bring it underneath the right. That right comes over. We're going to hug onto those shoulder blades again. Coming into that variation of the eagle arms. Inhale. Bring the chin up off the chest. So we're not pulling. We're just kind of reversing that technique by bringing our chin up. Exhale, slowly bring the chin down to level. Bringing the hands up. You might find that one side's a little bit different than the other side. So that doesn't mean that one side's better than the other. Different does not equal superior or inferior. They're just different. Maybe this hand time you can bind those hands, or maybe you want to keep it at that little hugging variation here. Whatever you do, find stillness. Slowly lift those elbows up off of the chest. Kind of hide your eye gaze. Find something in front of you that's not moving and then try to hide it behind those hands. Squeezing those arms together. Inhale, fill the belly up with air. Exhale, send that breath out, navel to spine, and slowly release those hands down. We're going to move a little bit more now. Inhale up. And slowly rock yourself up and off of your seat. Maybe you were seated on the ground and you had no assistance, and that's okay too. But we're going to go ahead and come off, and we're going to face the front of our mat long ways. So start to take a moment here to kind of find yourself in that. Maybe you sway those hips. Maybe that you haven't sat that low to the ground in a long time. So just find some movement in those hips. You're going to bring your hands below your shoulders. If this is really hard for you today, you can take that blanket or that quilt. You can place your hands on that, or you can double your mat over or a rug. You want the heels of the hands soft and cushioned. We're going to be here for just a moment. So inhale. Let's go ahead and send those hips over to the right. And just really feel the sensation of that right hip coming over. So you should start to feel a big stretch in that inner thigh, the front of that right hip, the side of that right hip. Coming back to the center and sway them out a little bit. Bring that left hip now over to the left. Ooh, start to feel that. Don't rush into this at all. Your hips are not something that are meant to be rushed ever. Don't listen to Shakira. Let them lie just a little bit. Let them ease into it. Coming back over. I want you to take your hips and I want you to separate the knees just a little bit more and go into one little clockwise motion. So they come back towards the heels. They come all the way back up through to 12 o'clock. And then we're going to send them counterclockwise over 12 through 11, 10. They come a little bit further down into 6, up into 4, 3, 2, 1. They stop back at 12 again. And this time I want you to go all the way back down to 6. And I want you to kind of sit on those folded under legs. Now, if you need to, you can fold your toes under if your feet are needing that right now. Kind of go into more of an active child's pose. But if not, I want you to come down into a full-blown balasana or child's pose. Now, for this, you might want to separate those knees a little bit wider here and come all the way down. If this is not gonna fit your body, find some variation of this that does. So you can have something underneath. So if you know where your child's pose is, take it and enjoy this luxurious child's pose. But if you need to, find something, elevate the floor, use blocks. I want you to take about 3 breaths here, just releasing into those hips, allowing those hips to settle into the earth. Inhales and exhales. Maybe allowing the middle of your forehead to kind of sink down. Your chin comes down to chest. Now you've been belly breathing all class. So find that in this position where you're folded over, when you fill the belly up with air, kind of like a balloon, where does that air send instead? So where else opens? Where else can we send that opening energy to? And then as we exhale, where can we send that closing energy to? And this is the moment in your living room where you can kind of take your eye gaze up and you maybe find a Reese's underneath your couch. One of my students called this the tree skirt fixing pose because she had to reach all the way down and come into this. Yoga has practical applications. When you're ready, slowly come out of your child's pose. Be careful to those wrists. Scoot anything out from underneath you. We're going to activate a little bit more and build some more of that heat. So we're coming up in our tabletop all fours. So our knees are directly underneath our hips. I'm going to pull my pants up a little bit so you can't see my fluorescent underwear anymore. We're going to bring those hands directly underneath our shoulders. So we're setting up for a good tabletop all fours. We're going to come into a couple of cat-cows. So we're going to inhale. We're not letting the belly just sag. We're actively sending the stomach and the solar plexus towards the ground. The spine curves towards the earth. We bring the heart and we send it energetically through the hands as we slowly allow our chin to come up. We're not Pez dispensaring the neck. We're gracefully elongating the front of the neck and the throat. Inhales. And as we exhale, we send the hips in and we bring the middle of the forehead, that brow chakra, that third eye, in to meet. We're going to inhale back up, opening up through that spine. Exhale, closing through, thinking about wrinkling your belly, bringing the chin to chest, forehead to the center of your body. One last time, inhaling up. Exhaling back down into that cat pose. From here, we neutralize the spine. I want you to take that right hand forward. We're going to send that left foot back. We're going to send that middle finger all the way forward, and we're going to send that big toe all the way behind us. So we're opening up through the chest, but we're not dragging all the way down. We're trying to build through. So this is still, don't feel embarrassed. This is still a balance challenge in this moment because you're balancing on that right knee and you're balancing on that left hand now. We're going to bring the eye gaze either down at the mat so that we can keep and focus on that balance, or if you'd like to, you can bring the eye gaze up slightly in front of you, or even looking through that hand. Now, I want you to open up through by bringing that middle finger forward and bringing that big toe even longer. You should start to feel this in the calf, the hamstrings, your shoulder, and slowly bring it down. Take a moment here to kind of sway those hips left and right. Remember, motion is lotion here. When something starts to feel stuck, unstick it. Taking that left hand forward now, setting that right foot behind you. I want you to send that big right toe all the way behind you. And from here, remember, eye gaze can be down at the mat. One of my favorite things to do in this bird dog pose is to send my shoulder down and back and then energetically send it forward out of the socket. So we're still not creating that earmuff effect. We're sending it through. A full body stretch here, but we're still strengthening through that abdomen, through that core. We're building some of that heat with a slow hold. Inhales and exhales. And sending it down. Motion is lotion, rocking those hips back and forth. So we're going to go into a bird dog variation here, where we bring our left knee up at a 90-degree angle. And there's not a really fun name for this, so we have one called fire hydrant. So in that fire hydrant, you're coming out, and your goal is to lift that leg, but you don't want to collapse entirely into the right or left shoulder or into that right leg. You're really focusing here on sending that left leg up and gaining some opening like a dog in a fire hydrant. But we're still pressing evenly into the left hand and into the right hand. Taking a couple breaths here, inhales and exhales, opening through those hips, Sending it down. And you can keep facing the front of the mat. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you that angle. Here's from a different angle. You lift that right hip up now, pressing into the left hand and the right hand. But still keep those hips level. Opening up through. Inhales and exhales. Giving me a couple of breaths here. Feeling that heat building in those hips. Not every story that we start to tell is an easy one. Sometimes the tears burn. So we open up. We get through it. Sending that down. You're going to kind of sway again through those hips. You should start to feel that in that bottom, the piriformis, the glutes. Sending it back. So we're going to do a little bit of a variation here. Again, we're going to keep both of the hands into the mat. We're going to send that right foot up behind you, and it's going to cross over the left leg. So the ball of your foot is going to find itself off of your mat or a little bit further off of your body. And I want you to slowly sink into pressing in through the heel. So you're going to send that right heel a little bit further down. So think about that left leg feeling like child's pose. As we press through, you start to feel that sensation stretch out the back of the right calf muscle and that left hip. Sending it back up and long. Bringing that right knee. Go ahead, give yourself a little bit of motion, left and right. We'll send that left leg up long. Cross that left leg over the right. The ball of the heel or the ball of the left foot finds the earth, and we send our body backwards, pressing through that left heel, and slowly sink ourselves down a little bit more. So again, kind of like we're in a child's pose on the right side, stretching out that right side of the body. Sending that left heel further back. Inhale up. Back into our bird dog. Sending those knees down to the mat. From here, I want you to let those hands keep finding the earth. We're going to send those feet out a little bit longer. You're going to be in a high plank here, but on your knees. So I want you to draw the shoulders down and back. Those elbows slightly bend. And if you can, I'd like you to slowly lower your body down. Now, if you've got lower back issues and your body's like, I ain't doing this, go ahead and bring your body down to the floor. Press into the earth. Send those hands a little bit further back. Send those toes behind you. Zip up those legs into the midline, or if you don't want to press them in, if your knee's knocked, you can bring a pillow between those legs and press into those. And slowly bring your chin up. So kind of like in that cat-cow, we're elongating to the neck. We're not Pez dispensing up. We're creating space in the throat. We're bringing those shoulder blades into pinch. We're bringing those elbows in, slowly lifting up and bringing it down. That's your Bhujangasana, your cobra pose. This time I want you to bring the hands a little bit further back. I always say to nipple line. So bring them kind of back to where those nipples might be facing the floor. And slowly press up. We're going to come a little bit further up. Again, if you start to go into this and this is like, not today, I'm not feeling this. I want you to bring something underneath your hands like blocks or maybe a bolster. So you can kind of bring those forearms in and come up into more of a Sphinx variation. Find something that has a little bit of burn, but a little bit of ease. This is the building part of that story where you really don't know what's going on. We're in unease here. We're allowing that spine to open up. That eye gaze slowly comes up with each breath. Maybe we find that we've gained a little bit more space and the front of the heart as it opens up. And then as you exhale, slowly come down again. Now, you've done a low cobra and you've done a higher cobra. From here, you can go into one of those, lower high cobra, or if you'd like to, I want you to send the feet close together, zip into that midline, take those hands, again, into that chest line, bring the shoulder blades in, bring the elbows in, gently press yourself up into an upward facing dog. From here, I want you to squeeze those glutes in, press through those shoulders, really open up. This is the cure for that quarantine flexion that we tend to stay in. If you'd like to, if you want to power it up a little bit more, you can lift those thighs up off of the mat. If your body's like, absolutely not, why did you suggest that? Again, bring those thighs down. You can have low and high forwards in your story. You again need to come into a high cobra or a low cobra. Do what you need. Couple more breaths here. Inhales. This time, clench those teeth. Exhale through those clenched teeth. Forehead finds the mat. Pressing yourself back again into that child's pose. So in that child's pose, really again, wanting to find comfort and ease into this. We're going to separate those knees. We're going to bring the heart into the earth. Your forehead finds the mat. That's uncomfortable for you. Again, maybe you want to have your forehead into a blanket or a block. Just not too much. Don't crank. Don't crinkle the neck. Take breaths here. Take a drink of water if you need it. Just find a moment of stillness, a pause in your story. A semicolon, if you will. Not that I know how to use those. Option here to gently take the right ear and allow it to settle into the earth. Breaths in and breaths out. And allow the left ear, as you slowly transition back through, allow that left ear. I'm not going to turn all the way so that you can still hear me, but bring that left ear into the earth. Taking breaths in and breaths out. Repositioning that forehead again, back through center. Taking those hands in. Let's bring ourselves up. Seated on those feet, Virasana. Allow those toes to send themselves pointed behind you. Let's take those hands and bring them into our laps. Let's sit up tall. Take a moment here just to feel the weight of gravity sitting on your legs. So we've done a lot of opening. So at this point, we're kind of closing by allowing that gravity to settle us in. It's still really opening on different parts of our bodies. So I'm going to face you. Inhale up. Be careful of those knees. You're going to tuck those toes under. So those big toes are going to tuck under today. And I want you to slowly and carefully sink back down. And at this point, you'll start to get that stretch in the fascia on those middle of the feet, those high arches. So if you're in high heels or if you stand all day, you're a runner or a walker or just a human in 2020 and have tension in your feet. So we're opening up through the soles of those feet. You didn't know you'd come to yoga and have your soul completely open tonight, but taking a moment here. If this is just killing you, I want you to slowly come back up and transition to the other side. So the tops of those feet flat on the mat. And then I want you to do something. I want you to pick. So this is kind of like a choose your own adventure in your story. If you want to be flat on those feet, do that. If you want those toes tucked under, do that. Wherever you're at, find that seat, find that ease. I want you to, again, bring that pelvis to sit neutrally. Maybe it tucks slightly so that you can sit it like a bowl. Allow that spine to grow up out of that pelvis. Firm through the abdomen. I want you to bring the hands up, and I want you to allow them to come about parallel to the ground. So goalpost, cactus, gingerbread arms, whatever you need. I want you to inhale, bring the chin back up, and slowly exhale, bring the chin to chest. This time we're going to bring the chin to neutral. And I want you to inhale, bring those elbows behind you, opening up through. So we're going to send Anahata, or the heart center, to open up wide. And as we exhale, I want you to bring those shoulders in, bring those elbows in. You're going to bring those hands in towards one another. Maybe they clasp, maybe they come touch. It's entirely up to you. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, we open again. Exhale, we close. Inhale, this time send the hands all the way up. Exhale, those hands in front of us. Those hands find the earth. We're going to come up on our toes no matter what we've chosen, and slowly send ourselves into kind of a little squat here, a little low squat. Let's take a moment here. Motion is lotion. How to just gently bounce into that. Get a little bit of somatic movement into your life. And then if you want to, I want you to bring yourself into Malasana, or your yogi squat. Now, if you're not there yet, and that's okay, I want you to bring and sit on those blocks or those textbooks. But I want you to focus on trying to get those heels into the earth. If that's not happening either, you're like, not today, Satan. I want you to take a blanket and allow the heels to come up onto a blanket. We're really just trying to find some ease here. We're gonna bring those hands into our prayer, bring those through the center. We're gonna allow those elbows to kind of open up those hips a little bit more. We don't have a lot of hip openers tonight, but I think we needed it, especially this time of year. Inhales and exhales. Take a couple more breaths here. Your body will tell you really quickly if you need this, or really quickly if you hate it. If you think you hate it, odds are you actually really need it. As long as it doesn't hurt. Yoga should never hurt. So don't try to yoga through the pain. There's no such thing as that. When you're ready, you'll bring the hands into the earth, pressing through, send those hips skyward. And I want you to bring those feet to about 6 inches apart. So that would be about 2 fist widths apart, or wherever you can comfortably get those feet to sit. So don't completely get rid of your blocks or your textbooks or whatever we've got to send ourselves into. I want you to send the outer edges of the feet energetically into the earth. And maybe if you've got your blocks here, you come up with the highest setting. I want you to press through the hands, sending your body into a forward fold, allowing ourselves to settle here, Uttanasana. Bring the chin to the chest. We're not forcing it. So we're just kind of allowing ourselves to settle here. And if you're coming into that forward fold and you're finding resistance, again, try to press through the outer edges of the feet, big toe, little toe, and then through that outer arch, and see if maybe you can find a little bit more ease into that fold. Maybe you find that as you breathe here for a couple of minutes, you want to go down to a lower setting on that block. Wherever we're at, I want our hands to still touch something. Maybe it's just our fingertips if we don't have anything today. Maybe our hands are touching our shins or the tops of our feet, or maybe if they're just on our thighs. Wherever we are, our hands are reaching out, holding on to something, grounding ourselves. Even if we're not grounding into the earth, reaching out and touching something is a bind, and it grounds us in that moment. Chin comes down chest, inhales here, and exhales. I want you to turn the hands and the backs of those hands over. Those palms come up. And we're going to slowly inhale. So we're bending through those knees and slowly rising up. We're lifting those hands up, reaching up. And we're going to allow those hands to come up behind us. And we're going to try to touch onto the backs of those shoulder blades. We're going to inhale up. Those hands are still pointed behind us. We're internally rotating those shoulders. We're bringing those elbows a little bit more in. So those thumbs are pointed out to each side. Inhale. Exhale, bend the knees as we come into kind of a lunar variation of Uttanasana, forward fold. We're slowly allowing those hands to come down. We'll bring those fingertips back. Bring those hands behind you. Come up onto the tippy toes if you can. Now, if the balls of your feet are sore from that toe stand variation thing that we did, that toe stretch, then you can just have those feet flat, and that's okay too. When you're ready, bend those knees, send those hands up, Utkatasana. And those hands are parallel. We're gonna allow the chin to come up. Draw the shoulder blades down and back. We're going to take those hands behind us. So we're kind of in a chair variation here, where we send that heart forward. We send those hips further to the ground. Those hands come behind us. From here, if you'd like to, you can bind those hands. So we're opening up through the front of the heart, but we're closing off the back of the heart because we can't be fully exposed. Every story has its secrets, so we have to close off every once in a while. Inhales and exhales. And then we'll straighten up those legs. Chin comes up. If your hands are clasped, they kind of come a little bit further down the back. If they can't clasp today, maybe they're just energetically holding on to something behind you. One this time we'll build a little bit more heat. We'll come up on the tippy toes of those feet. We'll bend those knees. Sending those hands behind us. Hummingbird or drinking bird, depending on which stories you're told. Give ourselves small flutters coming up and down on the balls of those feet. Small flutters here. A lot of birds in yoga. A lot of birds in a lot of religions and beliefs. Drop those heels into the earth. Send those hands up into the sky. Growing up tall. One last time, bringing up to the top of those tippy toes. Facing you again. Hands come into prayer, into the heart center. Sending it down into mountain. You're hitting your peaks. You're in the climax of that story. Inhale those hands up, clasping in the Kali Mudra. So they're small fingers all but our pointer fingers. are twined. We bring that thumb in. We bring our shoulder blades down, our elbows in. We grow up tall. Let's bring those feet into center. If you need to separate them slightly, that's okay too. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, slowly bring ourselves over to the right. So when we do this, we want to make sure that we're not collapsing our shoulder all the way down. I always hate this phrase of between two panes of glass, but because who wants to do yoga between two panes of glass? But we're bringing ourselves up and over. We're trying to keep ourselves in alignment here. This is a good one to do against a wall. You still want to feel some part of your body always touching the wall. So we're inhales and exhales, and we're focusing on length here, not depth. We're opening up to that entire left side body. Inhale. And exhale, coming over to the left side. Taking care again, not to allow that shoulder to collapse. Lengthening and deepening. Lengthening and deepening. Inhale all the way back up tall. Hands come down. Send them up into a prayer, into our heart center. Take a couple of breaths here. Taking our left ear, allowing it to come. Find the left shoulder. Taking our right ear as we come up through center. Allowing our right ear to come in. Back through center. Inhales. Taking our moment here to notice our bodies kind of reeling back and forth, making little circles here. You get to that point in every story where you feel like you're starting to just go in complete and total circles. Inhales and exhales. We're going to bring that right knee up. If you need to today, come to a wall. We're going to test that balance a little bit. One of our last final challenging poses here. Do your Virabhadrasana or tree. Bringing that right knee up. You've done a lot of opening of the hips. You've done a lot of opening of the heart. So this final pose brings all of that together. So in that, we're pressing through that left foot. We have a micro bend of that left knee. Our drishti, or our eye gaze, or yogic focus is somewhere into the ground because there's nothing that could be possibly moving on the ground right now. If you'd like to, if you want to lift the eye gaze up to eye level or even slightly above towards the ceiling, you can. You can bring that right hand down. You find that right foot. You're going to bring that foot somewhere in the inner thigh, the shin, the side of your shin or the calf, or with that right toe energetically touching the earth. We focus on just opening up into that right hip, sitting that right knee outward, that right hip outward. You can be anywhere on that leg except on that knee joint right here. Really don't want to be there. But take a moment here and find some version of your tree. We open up through those hands. If we'd like to, we send those hands out wide. Gingerbread, cactus, whatever we want with our arms. But we just feel that left calf muscle as it builds that fire and it starts to end its journey in that pose. We acknowledge its journey. We acknowledge what it's being put through, and we send that right foot down. Pedal those feet out. Take a breath here to ground you. Inhale through the nose. And let's keep that heat in the body. We're going to exhale through the nose. We're going to bring that left leg up. We'll start to find our balance in that right foot. And then we open up through that left hip. Maybe our left hand comes down to grab. Maybe we need to hold on to that hand. Maybe we have our hand on a chair or a wall or a cane or something to give ourselves balance. You can also bring your hand to your chest, bring it to heart center. That's okay too. Some version of your tree pose. Anything that we can find to open up that left hip. An option to open up the heart. Open wide. Go up tall. Maybe we're even bringing our hands into a reverse prayer behind our back. Whatever we need. As we feel that right leg end its journey. And then slowly we exit, bringing both our hands down. We inhale up one last time. Separate those feet, make sure they're at least hip width apart this time. We're gonna bend those knees as we slowly forward fold into Uttanasana. Kind of joyously pedal through those hips. So we stretch through that right hip, that left hip, right and left. A subtle micro bend to those knees. We're creating space behind those knees, activating through those knees. Opposite hand, opposite elbow, creating space in that back body one last time. Closing off in the front. Inhales here. Hands on the earth. We slowly descend down one last time into maybe a Malasana. And just like all stories, come down. It's like the ending. It's a lot faster. We're going to close you off with a couple of final little stretches for your lower body. And then I'll cue when I would normally do a Savasana and then let you know from there. If the active part of this class is kind of a lot for you at this point, if you kind of want to exit, now is a good point. Just make sure you take a moment to drink water, because hip openers, being kind of related to the water element, can kind of need to be fleshed out. So if you can bring your body in, bring the feet in to touch. You're going to have the knees up, kind of like an open book. Did you do that on purpose? Absolutely. If you'd like to, I want you to take your blocks. They can be on their highest setting directly underneath, lowest. Or if your hips are super open, all the way down in the lowest. You might need to take a moment here, and if you're blessed like I am, physically take the fleshy part of your bottom, left and right. You want to find those sit bones or those ischial tuberosities, kind of make sure that they're contacting the earth or the mat or whatever you're sitting on. You'll want to take your pelvis and probably kind of physically tilt it forward and into an anterior pelvic tilt, or you'll kind of sit the back of that bottom on a blanket here. But you're really wanting to make sure that your hips are open. They're settled into something. Some part of you is touching. So if you were physically a book, you would be set between two hands and kind of perched. From here, when you take your hands, you're going to open them up. And you're going to allow them just to generate a little bit of extra weight. Inhale here. And exhale. Just take a moment to set here. And again, start listening to what your body's saying. Don't believe everything it's saying, but at least listen. Taking a moment here. You can take really long, luxurious breaths here. Inhale through the nose. Clenched teeth. Inhale through the nose, filling the belly over there. After you filled up, clench those teeth. From here, I want you to take those legs, physically close that book. We're going to send the right leg a little bit further up into our body, and we're going to send the left leg along. We're going to wrap those hands around. We're going to hug that right knee into our chest. And I want you to bring your chin to chest and your forehead down to your knee. Taking a moment here to enjoy that feeling of kind of that self-soothing, that self-touch of holding onto your body, of hugging in, feeling that embrace that comes at the end of our chapters. Breath in through the nose. And breath out. We're going to inhale up. Elongate the spine, neutralizing it. We'll take our right hand down. We're going to bring it behind us. If you've got blankets and stuff behind you, make sure that it's not moving too much. You don't want to compromise anything. So you want to really find good solid flooring here. I kind of suck my gut in, inhale, bring it through, and I bring my right or my left elbow on the outer edge of my right knee, and I come into a spinal twist. So we're not trying to completely ratchet our body up and over. You don't really want to use a lot of leverage here. You're just using this to settle, kind of again, like a bind. Elongate. And as you exhale, slowly find that maybe a little bit more of your shoulders and your chin can look over that right shoulder. And when you're ready, come back through to center. We'll bring the left knee up. We'll take a moment here to kind of bring those legs open and close here. A little bit of movement. Those hips kind of set stationary for a minute. Bring that right leg out long. We really don't want there to be a lockout in that right knee, so make sure, again, creating some space behind that right knee. We'll bring that left foot in tight to our bodies. We reach forward. We're going to hug on. We'll bring the forehead down to the knee. Maybe some way to kind of hold. Inhaling up. Bringing that left hand again safely behind you. Bringing that right hand up and over. That belly comes up and over through. Coming into a little bit of a spinal twist here. Inhale, lengthening through. So we're growing tall as we inhale. And as we exhale, we slowly bring our shoulders over like a T-square and look up and over that left shoulder. And when we're ready, slowly come back to the center. Let's bring our right leg in. Let's separate those feet a little bit wider than our hips. Let's take both of those hands back. We're pointing those fingers at the back of the room. We're going to bring one foot in, slowly windshield wiper. Back and forth as slowly as possible. And when you're ready, send those feet out long. Closing out, inhaling up into Dandasana. Exhale Paschimottanasana, forward fold. Taking a moment here. It's kind of like that clasped book as it's done. And then if you're not long ways on your mat, try to get that way. You can stay here in this forward fold and really enjoy the sensation of that hamstring opener with that front body closure. When you're ready, inhale up. Bring your right hand down, your left hand down. Slowly travel into corpse pose, Savasana. The final pose of class. Your toes open up. Your thumbs open up. Your heart on display. You kind of bring your shoulders a little bit under. Our chin and our nose are level so as not to constrict the airway. Take a moment here. And after we close even, go back into your Savasana. Thinking of nothing. Clearing yourself and absolving yourself of the stories that you told about class and about practice. Inhales and exhales. Taking a moment to let your belly breath as your body fills up with air. Come naturally. And then you'll bring your hands over the navel. The middle finger, fingertips meet to kiss gently over the navel. Inhale, fill the belly up with air. And as you exhale, those come back to kiss one more time. Inhale, fill the belly up with air as they separate. Rolling over onto the side that your heart is on, your left side. Take a moment there in that folded over position on that side of your heart. And then gently take that right hand and I want you to slowly and carefully travel back up into your easy seated pose. On or off of a block. Being careful. You just revolutionized your whole world by telling and reading and living that story. So make sure that you ease into it. You come up and when you take your hands and bring them into a heart prayer. Coming into Anjali or Anjali Mudra. We inhale up. We're going to send this prayer into our middle of our forehead, into our third eye, into our heart. We're going to allow it to come down to settle at our hips. So we're, again, sending that intention to those that we are able to tell stories to and live stories with. And all of the connections that we have through those stories. Those stories that we take to heart and that we know are true, allowing us to decipher those that aren't true. And allowing that to come into our hips to settle where all knowledge and where all emotions live in our hips, allowing those stories to finally live out there so that when we tell them, we can be rooted in those stories and tell them from the ground all the way up. Brow, heart, sacrum. Hand back into heart. The light in me sees and has found peace in the stories and the light in each every one of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming to this practice tonight. I appreciate everyone here that attended. Please let us know other things that we can do in the future to make these more accessible or make them better fitted for you. Remember to drink water for your hips. Be gentle. Try not to get into any fights with anybody tonight after all those hip openers. And thank you so much. Love you guys. Appreciate it.